Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I truly appreciate you being here. The ability to grow and produce your own food is essential for preppers and homesteaders. But in the process of doing that, you're going to have a lot of setbacks and adversity that you're going to have to deal with as well. Anything from late frost that kills plants and blooms on trees to insects and animals. But there's several mitigation steps that we can take, and one thing that I've done to try to deal with one of those animals is crows. And I'll spin this camera around and kind of show you what I've done and show you how I did it. So stick around. Okay everybody, as I was stating about producing your own food and some of the obstacles that you'll have to deal with is, here's a prime example. I have 1, 2, 3 apple trees here. They were all covered with blooms. They were doing really well, appeared to be. And then a late frost moved in. So there's no apples on these trees. There's a few, maybe 8 or 10 at the most between the 3 trees. Now if I was dependent on those to be able to feed my family this fall, then I would be in a world of hurt. So you're going to deal with a lot of adversities trying to grow and produce your own food. Another thing that can happen to you on your garden is just failures of seeds or whatever to sprout and grow. As you can see, this row of potatoes here looks real well, but if you look at some of these other rows, there is several places where they just didn't come up. And of course there's the ever-present crawdad holes that I'm having to deal with. You look down through here, you'll see these bald spots where there's nothing at. Now what happened here, for one thing, when I planted these potatoes, I had cut the seed potatoes into smaller pieces so that they go farther. And I may not have let them heal over good enough. And the other thing was we had some rain and this ground stayed pretty wet right in here where these places are that's missing stuff, and the seed potatoes may have just simply rotted in the ground. But just something else to consider. And of course another thing that you'll have to deal with is insect damage. You can see some of those leaves are been eaten on, and it could be a rabbit as well. And there's several that's missing that was here before. So just something else to consider. But another useful item that I have here is the sprinkler system that I've installed. That's just a T-post sprinkler on top of an 8-foot T-post. I have these plumbed with garden hoses over to here. I think I mentioned it earlier in another video. And this is a totally off-grid sprinkler system. And I'll be doing a video on this in more detail later. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. All right, everybody. What I have right here is one of my patches of corn that I planted. There's 12 rows here of the Jimmy Red corn. And one thing that loves corn is crows. And a lot of people think that the crows will eat the corn once it's ready to eat, but what they like to do is they'll find these fresh planted rows like this, and once the corn starts to sprout and come up out of the ground, they'll come down here, they'll grab that little green sprout, pull it up out of the ground, eat the little kernel of corn off the bottom of the sprout, and that'll just totally decimate your corn crop. So one thing I've done is made a scarecrow to keep out here in the garden, because I can't be here all day during the days because I do work a full-time job. Let's take a look at this scarecrow and hopefully it will help. All right, everybody, here's my scarecrow. I call him Fred. Fred stays up here in the garden 24 hours a day and helps watch over everything. You can kind of see here what it looks like, and I'll show you exactly how I made that and how I do things with that. So stick around. All right, everybody. All this simply is some PVC pipe and some clothes. One of the styrofoam heads that women keep wigs on. I pinned a cap to it using sewing pins, and I pinned the shirt to his neck. Inside this is a PVC pipe frame, just 1-inch PVC pipe that runs up to the shoulders. There's a cross connector right here in the shoulders that runs out about 6 inches for each shoulder. with an elbow. I didn't glue any of these connections. That way you can move the arms and extend them and make them look different at different times. And so far it seems to be working, because prior to me planting this corn, I was seeing crows up here pretty much on a daily basis. And since I've put this in place, I haven't been seeing any, at least while I've been at home and able to watch. And what I have here is one of the rebar electric fence posts that you can get at any farm supply store. And they've got a blade on the bottom of them. I drive it down into the ground until the blade's just sticking up about a half an inch. I have several of these scattered out in different locations in the garden, so I come up here every other day or so and move the Scarecrow to a different location, just to kind of help them prevent getting used to it, seeing it all the time. Okay, and then what I do is I just slide the PVC pipe down on that rebar post. And where that blade is sticking up out of the ground, that allows this to move freely and spin on top of that rebar post. That way it's got a little bit of movement to it when the wind's blowing. I did tie these orange ribbons where the hands would be and around his neck to give it a little bit additional movement. And like I said, so far it seems to be working. All right, everybody, I hope you found this useful. Like I said, all it is some PVC pipe and a few joints. Wasn't that expensive to make, and it does seem to work really well. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button. Leave us a comment below of what you do and what works well for you. And don't forget to subscribe. Remember, prepare today for what may happen tomorrow, and I will see you on the next video.